watching this video. I am finally finding time to sit down and film it. I've been wanting to do this video for a while because it is an update on my Bachelor of Social Work program experience video. I made that video a while ago to bring more information about a Bachelor's of Social Work program to YouTube. So I wanted to bring some more details and just make a, better produced video on it. So if you are looking for more information into going into a Bachelor's of Social Work program, or you just want to watch this video, let's get into it. So I want to start off by saying that this is based on my experience. I started my Bachelor's of Social Work program in 2017 and got my degree in 2019. I of course stayed more years prior to my Bachelor's of Social Work program. That's actually starting the program. I did the general education requirements before that. But I just wanted to clarify. So I went to college right out of high school and I did my general education requirements, but then the actual program started for me in 2017, and then I graduated in 2019 with my Bachelor's of Social Work degree. I went to school in the United States of America. I just won't be saying the exact name of the college for privacy reasons, but also because I'm not affiliated with them, and this is all just based off a little bit of my experience type of thing, and hopefully to give everyone more information on what a Bachelor's of Social Work program may be like for you. So although this might not be directly your experience or the direct classes you have, hopefully this will give you an idea of what it will be like. So a Bachelor's of Social Work degree is usually more generalist social work. It can offer you entry-level jobs. So like most four-year colleges, I did have to complete generalist education requirements such as math, history, English, second language, that type of thing. Usually these general education requirements you have regardless of what major you choose. I did 2 years of general education requirement type of classes before I actually did anything social work related. So to clarify, my school years were from August to May, like a general school year, and semesters were broken down by like halves of the year. So from the fall semesters from August to December, and from December to May is the spring semester, school breaks in between. But anyway, so when I say that I started off my BSW program, the first semester was actually my third year of college. I was actually all over the place myself. I did a community college at one point as well and took some classes there. I went back to my original college, so I just want to let everyone know that not everyone's journey is going to look the same all the time, and that is totally okay. Do what is best for you. Taking some classes at a community college can be super cost effective in terms of tuition. Just make sure that the credits you earned will be able to transfer to the college you get your bachelor's degree at. In my experience, I did have to take some non-social work titled classes, and I say that because it's not titled in the class name that it's a social work course, but it does have to do with social work. For instance, these classes were economics, sociology, political science, psychology, things like that. So they were a part of my social work program course load, as well as the main social work classes. To get a more in-depth view of the program that you're looking into, I highly suggest going on the website or calling them and getting in touch with what their program offers and the layout of how they offer their classes. And sometimes on the website they actually have course descriptions of the classes to get more in-depth view of that as well. A class that you very well might have to take is an Intro to Social Work course, and this is basically probably going to be the history of social work, some basic foundational policy and ethics type of things to introduce you to the field of social work. So some classes that I had related to so many different areas and topics. For instance, I had a class learning a lot about like individuals in small groups, and this mainly focused on things like ageism and stigmas about ages, ableism, about gender and sexual orientation. We also went over sexism. We had a whole topic on religion and spirituality as well. With each of those chapters that I just mentioned in this one class, we did have to write a short paper as well. With each chapter of those topics that I just named, there were short papers, and that's the thing with each class and each professor, it may be different on how long papers are, what the format is. So just make sure you get that information at the start of the class on how your professor wants each paper to look like. This information may also be in your syllabus, and that's another tip I definitely have, is to, if you get a syllabus from a professor, definitely save it. It probably has information for the whole semester, such as like when assignments are due, what the assignments are, books you have to get, things like that. There also may be a human behavior related class, and it could be more macro population work, which is different than just one-on-one individual clinical work. For example, we did an ethnography project, which ethnography is the study of people and cultures, and that was a whole semester long project where we had to go to a town and interview people and businesses and things like that. We also learned about eco maps, charting people's relationships, all that type of stuff. We also watched a few documentaries in this class, which I really enjoyed. One of them being The 13th on Netflix. I highly recommend it, especially for social workers. Really well made and very eye-opening. And I'm glad that my professor showed that one. So I also had a more generalist social work course, which was foundational general social work type of learning. Usually I rent my books for classes, but for this class in particular, I actually bought the book to keep. This class had information that I felt would not change. It's very foundational, basic work that is the core of working as a social worker, I feel like. So the book was really helpful. I can always go back to it and reference it. I highly recommend renting books, but if you feel like this book in particular is going to be super helpful for you, and you are able to buy it, then I definitely also recommend that in kind of collecting books and information that you have for yourself for the future. So anyways, in this class we did a lot of role playing, which was different for me. It was definitely nerve-wracking at first, but I got used to it. So in these role plays, it was kind of like you got into partners and one person was the social worker, one person was the client, maybe there's a third one that was taking notes. Basically, we would practice social work with our classmates. I think this practice really helped a lot. It helped us prepare for our internships. It helped us prepare for the field. It was the actual practice of doing it. So this class also had things like chapters on empathy, engagement skills, and we learned a lot about treatment plans and biopsychosocial assessments. We also did a few papers in this class, and this class, like many others, I really appreciated the assignments that made us look at ourselves and reflect inward. So you may have papers that try to help you identify maybe your own triggers, your own self, your own culture, your own identity, so you are better able to help other people. Hopefully your program makes the classroom a safe space to talk about things and a confidential space that you have your classmates and your professor to help you with. So also you probably will learn about cognitive behavioral therapy, trauma-informed care, working with groups such as maybe like a community worker, or if you're facilitating groups in an agency. You may also learn about social policies and research methods. So while there's so many other classes and details, that kind of finishes up the what your classes may look like portion of this video. So now for internship information. So again, this is just based off of my experience, but when I did enter the program, maybe like halfway through the first semester, I had to fill out some paperwork. I was required to fill out an application saying what kind of internship I wanted to go into, maybe what populations I wanted to work with. It may also include you having to attach transcripts from any prior schools you went to. A personal statement letter could be included, which is some questions that you answer in a essay paper type of format, so the program can get to know you and make sure you're approved and accepted into the program, I guess. You may also need recommendation letters getting into the program and starting this internship. The internship experience may also have you get a background check done depending on what agency you work at, or if it's the requirement of the school. It just depends on what your school does. You'd have to ask your particular program. You may also want to ask your program if they help you get internships. So I have heard of some schools that maybe they just tell you to get your own internship, find it on your own. My experience in particular, the program helped us get internships. They have connections with agencies, so they placed us. We just gave them the information of what we may want to do. So although they placed us, we did have to like interview and go through that process on our own, and still do that getting a job type of process, but the school did place us and have connections with supervisors at that agency, so our professors can meet with those supervisors at one point and evaluate us. In the first semester of the internship, I did not have a caseload of people. I was more shadowing, and that was really great because it helps you get used to the agency and kind of like a slow process getting in. This helped you get to know the job, and I believe for me it was about 8 hours a week starting off, and then the second semester was like 16. So that 16 hours a week was when I was actually seeing clients, and I had a caseload of about 3 people. So regarding paid internships, this is all, up to the agency and the school, and really just varies. I was very lucky in my BSW program. I did get an internship that paid. It was a minimum wage, but it was so helpful because I did have to lessen my hours at my job outside of school to, make room for internship hours. So, we had to go to class on top of an internship, on top of if you had a job separate. And my classes were relatively small. I don't know, 15, 20 people probably max. I didn't have big classes, which I fully enjoyed and I liked. I think it helped the class get closer and the professor easier to walk around to different groups if we were doing group work or answer our questions, because there wasn't, a whole lecture hall filled with people. So if you do know yourself and you know that about yourself, maybe look for classes that are smaller. That's another thing that I think is pretty important if that matters to you. If when you're choosing classes in your college, is it a whole lecture hall and it says 200 seats available, or is it just like a 20-person class? So depending on what kind of environment you like to learn in, that could be a tip to look into. Also, more miscellaneous information. Don't be afraid to call up your program of interest and ask questions. A huge recommendation I have is to make sure your program is accredited. So this just means that the school you are going to is official. It has that stamp of approval. Your degree is approved by like a big social work board. I don't know if other countries do this, but in the US specifically, we have accreditation. So yes, I just highly recommend, looking into if your school meets that stamp of approval, that they met the standards of what a social work program should offer to get that degree. Lastly, I recommend reading the NASW Code of Ethics. The National Association of Social Workers has a code of ethics that you will need to know as a social worker. Those are our standards, principles to live by as a social worker in your profession. These have things like rules for confidentiality, working with colleagues. It touches on so many things that social workers will need to know when we're in the profession. So I think if by reading that code of ethics before you got into a program or while you're in the program, you can kind of see if this is something that you're going to be able to do. In general, I think it just gives you a better idea also of how social workers work. So yes, the NASW Code of Ethics is free online to read, and I will put the link here for you to look at if you would like. So to end, overall, I just want to mention that this will probably be a time where you'll be thrown out of your comfort zone. So by out of your comfort zone, I mean whether it's having discussions in class that you never thought about, seeing other people's perspectives that you never thought about, working with clients you've never worked with, or populations you've never talked to. With this also comes a lot of self-reflection, and I would definitely take advantage of this time to do that self-reflection for yourself. So just let this be a time of learning and having fun. You don't have to know everything right off the bat. Enjoy your time as a student, make those connections with professors, with classmates, with your internship, with any agencies you interview or have projects with. Those connections can be super helpful in the future. So don't be afraid to make friends with your classmates and learn from them and talk with them, get their advice, study with them. That's also, I think, a really important part of social work school. That completes this video on a bachelor's of social work experience and what it might look like for you. I know when I was looking into bachelor's of social work programs years ago, I didn't find a ton of everyday life in school type of information. I found very broad information, which was great and helped, but I hope that this video gives people, especially looking for more information, just kind of like a overview of what they may expect. Again, it might not be exact to everything I just said, But yeah, in general, just kind of knowing what you're walking into a little bit could be helpful. If you would like to watch more social work content from me, I have videos on this channel as well, and please feel free to subscribe for my future ones. And I will see you next time. Bye.